Hi, this is Seth from Coming Out Tarot. My pronouns are he, him, his, and this is Coming Out of the Tarot Closet. Coming Out of the Tarot Closet is full of entertaining interviews with tarot readers who share their coming out of the tarot closet story. We're going to provide advice in a safe space for up-and-coming tarot readers who identify as part of our rainbow family. We're going to have a little fun along the way. Hopefully we'll change some lives and ultimately create a stronger community. I'm so excited to talk to Mitchell Osborn today. He's a positive force, and I love his enthusiasm, his openness, and his brilliant smile. Here's a little bit about Mitchell from their bio. Mitchell Osborn is a psychic medium, animal communicator, tarot and Lenormand Card Reader. He uses his abilities to help identify soul-level solutions for 5-dimensional spiritual wellness, enlightenment, and growth. He focuses on assisting his clients and students to recognize the world of energy around them and be able to make their own confident, empowered decisions from an intuitively informed, centered, and balanced place. So let's welcome Mitchell. Welcome, Mitchell. Thank you for being here and coming out of the tarot closet. How would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh my gosh. So my name is Mitchell Osborn. I'm a native Floridian, live in Orlando now. I'm a psychic medium, tarot, Lenormand Card Reader, animal communicator, and a hypnotherapist. That's how I'd like to introduce myself.
Thank you. You know what? I'm fascinated by the animal communicator experience. I have done my own readings for animals that I have lost myself just to reconnect with them. And I'm going to ask you about that in a little bit. So I can't wait to hear more about that. I want to do a real quick lightning round getting to know you thing. And we're going to do this twice. So we're going to do a short little fast one at the beginning. Who's going to sit on the Iron Throne?
Sansa.
What's your favorite divination tool?
Tarot cards.
Are you mentored or self-taught?
Mentored. No, self-taught. Self-taught.
Not a trick question.
And when I tell you about my coming out, you'll probably see more why I say self-taught.
Do you read yourself or do you like to get read?
That's not a euphemism, right? I read myself.
Okay. And what's your favorite tarot deck right now?
Legacy of the Divine Tarot, Ciro Marchetti.
Oh, yes. Okay. And when did you come out of the tarot closet?
Wow. So I'll give you the date and then we can talk more about it later. Pretty much 2008, about 11 years ago.
Wow. So I had a similar, maybe not 2008, but I remember feeling it wasn't that long ago. Is that kind of feels like for you?
Yeah, in other words, and again, the stories are amazing. 2000, my entire world shifted. I don't know if you want to dive into that yet, but my entire world shifted in 2000. And that's when I started studying it. And then when I moved to Orlando in 2008, I was able to start going to classes and stuff. That's why I said I think I was self-taught, because for 10 years, I just did my own thing, with the windows, with the curtains closed so nobody would see me. And then, I started reading professionally in 2008, 2009 at Universal Studios, Orlando, Florida.
At Universal Studios?
I know. Listen, dude, I got so many cool stories about coming out.
Okay. So I have so many questions.
I know.
So for me, it was harder, I think, coming out of the spiritual closet than it was to come out of the closet. Have you felt similarly?
It's so weird because I would say my coming out of closets as a gay man and as a psychic tarot card reader were somewhat similar. In other words, I always tell people I'm a ficus tree because if you know anything about ficus trees or plants, if you pick them up from one side of the room and move them to the other side of the room, within a day or two, all the leaves would fall off because you shocked the shit out of them. All right. But if you take that ficus tree and you move it an inch every day across the floor, it doesn't realize you're moving it. And by the time you get it to the other side of the room, it's adjusted step by step by step. So for me, that's kind of how I come out. Didn't come out to my family officially. until they knew, they met, boyfriends and stuff. And, the biggest coming out for them was when I sent all of them an email and said, we're getting married now that the laws are there. And, so it was a pretty powerful experience. With the tarot, I started off with, with a fake picture of just an image on, Intuitive Messenger, Intuitive Mitchell. I think it was just Intuitive Messenger. I don't even think I put the name Mitchell up there. So I slowly got my feet wet. And I think part of it is my belief in myself. And we can say both closets, because I was deep in the Nazarene church as a Christian. Mm-hmm. And, so it was like believing in it. And then as a tarot reader, believing in my ability to read, believing in my abilities as a psychic and a medium. As I proved myself, I took steps out. Plus, I'm part of a large organization that is very religious oriented. It's a medical healthcare center that's, kind of owned and operated by a church. So I didn't want to hang the shingle out in my hometown. And I always joke with my husband, Fabian. I said, every time we watch International House Hunter, always one in the couple says, well, I work online from home, so we could live anywhere. So I wanted to create that kind of a business where wherever we might move, that I could work and, develop that. Because I'm a fitness manager, there aren't a lot of fitness manager positions around the globe. So if I ever want to pick up and move somewhere, it'd be a challenge to go from that career to the same career somewhere. But, I do this work via Skype, via FaceTime, Facebook, online. I send video YouTube readings back to clients, so I can do that anywhere. And, that was kind of my mind thought. So I didn't hang out the shingle. Plus, I thought I might get fired. They might be okay with the gay man working in their corporation, but if he's a psychic and gay, I don't know. But a very interesting thing happened about 5 or 6 years ago. I was trolled by a very popular radio host who literally pays people to troll people. And they started, it was the most fearful thing I've ever been through, because for about 2 to 3 days solid, they mistook me for somebody else. But they were tagging VPs, directors, heads of security in my company, saying, here's this guy, hawking, selling, doing this, posting my address, incorporating my husband in his pottery work. And I realized what they do. They just try to strike fear in you, because the funny thing is nobody was reading what they were posting except me. But at that moment, I remember I called my HR person. I said, I need you to come to my office. And she says, everything okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine, but I need you to come here. So I pull up all my websites, all my Twitter accounts, and I say, this is what I do outside of here. I said, and here's what's going on. And she said, well, first, I feel really bad that you're going through this, but what you do on your own time, as long as it's not a conflict of interest, is really your business. And that was such a freeing moment, because, and I'm sure you do this, we look at these scary things, and I literally drove home one day after that, and I thought, wow, look how this just freed me up to not worry if somebody finds me. And that's when I started doing more in-person readings and things around town, and I opened up my home office for the weekends when I'm not at my corporate day job. So it was a really, really freeing moment, even though it was scary as crap for about 3 days. I mean, I remember calling my husband and saying, don't answer the door. If you see anybody, be careful. I didn't know what was, I didn't know if these people were going to come hunt us down like we see even more and more these days with larger and larger targets. So yeah, it was a pretty powerful moment. So that was kind of some of my coming out of the closet kind of a thing.
Wow, that is way more intense than I expected.
Yeah.
Did it eventually end? How did you stop that onslaught? Yes.
So one of my good friends who I did a blog talk radio show with, Jamie the Psychic, Jamie Cruz, who does this work, she had always been friends with a lot of the radio personalities in the Central Florida area. And there were a lot of them that there was, I don't even want to say what stuff was going on with them. But again, it's all about trolls and things like that. But she was friends with them. And I think she was the reason they thought I might be there, because they figured out I worked at a specific hospital where a rape victim was brought in. and they thought I was the one leaking information and stuff. And I had no clue about any of this stuff going on. So they just assumed and sent their trolls in. And I would block, but then they would find me at a different place, said, oh, you think you can block us on that account? So I had deleted a couple of Twitter accounts. I also found out on Twitter is where you can be anonymous and no one ever knows who you are. But Instagram, Facebook, I think you have to be a little more open and people know who you are and like address and email and phone number and stuff. So it was a very interesting learning experience.
So how do you deal with the online troll, not just these guys, but even if you're on Facebook or if you're on Twitter, knowing that there's people out there who are coming for you based on what you do and that they're judging you and coming for you and potentially those you love? How do you deal with them?
So in a year's time, I'm like a 12-month average, I maybe get 2 people who say something negative or, start talking about the wrath of God or evil. And I think, and what I attribute that to, because basically I'm not a target, I attribute that to that my personal mantra and practice every day is to raise my vibration as high as I possibly can. I work in a place of love. I'm not a ghost hunter, which works in a dense, heavy place. And I think their place is very important in this world, but that's not where I work. If someone said, come talk to some evil spirits in my house, I said, well, I'll come. I said, but I'm probably going to be talking to a higher level about what's going on there. And it's not that I shy away from that. This is just where I feel my direction goes. So I feel like I'm vibrating at a high level, so I'm not attracting the dense, heavy stuff. Another thing I don't do is, and I don't know if this would equate to it or not, but I've paid for advertising, but I've not paid for followers. So pretty much my climb in followers on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube has always been very slow and steady. And I feel like those who do follow me generally want to be there and want to know what I have to say and might utilize my services versus me just trying to get to 100,000 followers. And because I feel like, because this is where I say self-taught, because anything, I go and watch what other people do. And I watch, I'll watch someone who has 20,000 followers and I'll go look at a post they posted 5 days ago and I'll see like 3 people liked it. So I'm wondering, do they really have real original followers? Where if I've posted my video this morning on YouTube, but I know right now when I came on, I already had 20 people viewed it from this morning at 9 a.m. So there's people who really want my stuff. And usually any dialogue is usually very genuine and heartfelt and respectful. So I don't get a lot of negativity and trolls, which why that was so powerful for me, which is why, again, when it happened, I went, what am I projecting? What in my shadow? And immediately, as the word shadow came out, I went, I'm still afraid. I'm still afraid. Which is why it was so easy for me to go, thank you for these trolls who pushed me once again out into the light, past the shadow that I was still holding on to.
I love the round. Beautiful. I got little chills there for a minute. That is an incredible perspective that I have struggled with myself. So that little nugget is amazing. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I want to ask you about something else that I found. It's not, I haven't dug up any dirt. I just.
Yay, I love dirt.
Right. So you had semi-recently, this was a few years ago, I think, had a quick interview with the Tarot Lady on her Talkin' Tarot series. You don't remember doing this? It was a while ago.
With Teresa Reed?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. Oh my God.
Yes.
Teresa, if you're listening, forgive me. And here's the reason why, because I see her every year. I see her every year at Reader Studio. So those are my memories of her. Sitting next to her arguing over salmon. That's my memories of her.
How can you have an argument over salmon?
Oh, I can't divulge that information. It's private. It wasn't between us. It was between somebody else.
Okay. So
if you ever talk to Angelo Nasio,
yes,
who is another gay tarot reader,
yeah,
maybe he'll tell you that story.
Okay.
You know to that.
I'll pin it. So you had shared with her in her Talkin' Tarot series that your philosophy for reading tarot is that you're a mouthpiece for spirit. And I'm wondering, because this feels like a connection to what you were just sharing, so I want to extrapolate this a little bit. How did you feel when you knew that for the first time?
So, and that is a good one. So we did not grow up in the church, my family. I remember a very vivid image of around 6 years old going to the Episcopal church, and then our family had a business. My mom was Southern Baptist, my dad was Episcopalian. He almost became a priest, which I found out when I was like 40, which blew my mind, because I've always felt like, well, I've also been told by a medium in a group reading. She looked at me and she rolled her eyes, and I thought, what is going on here? And she said, oh my God. She goes, you've been a monk and a preacher so many times I can't tell. And I just literally went, I believe you. I believe you. So, and especially in Atlantis, but that's a whole nother story. Yeah, through a hypnotherapy session. Anyway, if you have time at the end, you can write that down. You can ask me later. So I didn't really grow up in the church, but at 21 years old, I stepped into theater. At 21 years old, I stepped into group exercise classes and teaching. At 21 years old, I started finding out who I was. And I also went on a search for truth, and that truth led me into the church. I remember two group fitness friends, Becky and Susan. One was Nazarene, one was Assembly of God. I went to both of them, and the Assembly of God scared me because it was crazy. Now that's the church I would probably have gone to. But so I stepped into the Nazarene church, and I usually throw myself in wholeheartedly. So I threw myself in. I was acting, doing this, teaching, leading choirs, not leading choir, but leading the theatrical stuff at the church. Went back to school at 27, got my degree in theater from Trevecca Nazarene University. It was the best and worst time of my life, because it's at 27 years old, it was that moment where a lot of teenagers have when they leave home for the first time. I had a breakdown. And within a couple months being there, I was in counseling and therapy. Of course, it was still all very Christian-based. So for 9 years, counselors, therapists, psychiatrists on Buspar, Prozac, whatever, at one point, found out I didn't really need that. It was just dealing with life. But my journey was to find truth. And it was led by the gay thing. And I'll never forget this little old lady who was my final counselor, who's since passed on. But, you know, she was really beautiful in the way she handled me, because she never told me what to think or what to do. But it was December 1999, and I'm driving through Winter Haven, where I was born and raised, Florida, and I literally heard the Holy Spirit's voice, because in the Nazarene church, that's what we were taught to connect with, Scripture and the Holy Spirit's voice. My gifts were, divination. There was a different word for that that they use in the church, not divination. Oh my gosh, I lost the word. I'll think of it in a moment. So I'm driving through, and all of a sudden I heard that same voice say, "It's okay, go find a man." And I literally beat the steering wheel. I said, "What the fuck?" I'm like, what are you telling me? Because for me, the whole reason I went into counseling was to fix the gay thing. But the funny thing is, again, I look back, and those 9 years, I took care of all the issues with my family, took care of my weight issues, my addiction. I haven't had alcohol in over 27 years. I drank myself silly. My liver almost stopped working. So it's like all these things were taken care of. So that was the thing that drove me into it. But I got all these wonderful things. And if you've ever, or anybody listening who's ever been in therapy, you're usually given wonderful tools to work with. And those tools have been prized possessions of mine throughout my life. So December 1999, it was like, it's time. I'm coming out. It's when I started dating men. And then that's when I started. Tarot books, psychic books literally would fall off the shelf in Barnes & Noble on Sand Lake Road in Orlando, Florida. I would hear, "Come over here." And I would walk into an area where I didn't know where I was in Barnes & Noble. And next thing I know, I'm standing in front of all the metaphysical books. And I would be drawn right to Deborah Lynn Katz's book, "You Are Psychic." It's on a shelf back here. It was the first book I bought. I bought a tarot deck shortly after that. And as I continue to work through my Christianity and understanding that, I remember having a bad day. And it's so funny because I realized I just forgot your original question. I'm just going on my story. I'm a storyteller, people. And I remember having a bad day. And I thought, why am I having a bad day? And I thought, it's the tarot deck. It's evil. And I grabbed the deck up. I walked down the road at my condo place and I threw it in the garbage can. Now, I've told this story on the main stage at Reader Studio in New York, and you should have heard the gasp from the 150 people standing in front of me. I said, people, I've since made amends to the deck, and I set the intention that somehow, some way, that deck found its way into someone's hands at a garbage dump or somewhere or something, because I look back now and I think I would not throw away a deck to save my life now. And most of my decks that I use on a regular basis are like family to me. So now I think I remember your original question. So the mouthpiece. So I'm getting there. So one day, 2007, I start taking my first official classes after I've been, what do you call it, autodidactic, where you teach yourself for like 7 years. I've been learning, studying in my closed little curtain condo all by myself. And I took my first class, and I remember one day driving home, and the voice that I was hearing when I do work, the voice said, did you expect my voice to change? And I immediately went, oh, even when I was in the church, I called you Holy Spirit. That voice was still the same voice now, which I just call spirit or source energy. And it was a epiphany moment for me, because I went, holy shit, you're the same voice that always has been in my head as a child when I sat out back on a rock, imagining I would go down into the earth and play with animals. You know, you're the same voice that when I laid in bed at night would tell me to, you know, get up and go do something, or get in the car and just drive and put on music so you don't, you know, shoot yourself in the head. You know, it was really a neat moment for me to realize that voice is just the voice. And I am very clairaudient and very clairvoyant. Those are my two ones. For those of you who are very empathic, I have moments, and I understand a little bit, but not as much as you probably do, because I don't always feel so much. And I think the feeling was me shutting down my feelings as a child and working with the hearing and the seeing. So the mouthpiece, I think, is started from in the church delivering messages, and then now in the world delivering messages, still the same way.
Do you feel like you have a level of comfort with that clairaudience now? Is it like a trusted friend sound? What does that feel like?
Yes, it doesn't. Sometimes it does sound like my own voice, but most of the time it doesn't. It depends on who I'm working with. I'm working with someone and I'm connecting to their loved one or someone on the other side. But when I'm just talking to spirit, it's a very just a clear, solid kind of sound. And it's very subjective, meaning in my head, versus objective, meaning outside. So like I see subjectively in my head. Every once in a while, I'll see a spirit move by, but I don't see a full apparition usually standing in front of me, which, by the way, most mediums don't. And they'll tell you that if you go to their private stuff. But it is pretty clear. And one way I can tell people is, imagine you're on a cell phone talking to your, like right now, you're listening to me, and you're probably formulating your next thought or question to me. So you hear my voice, but you're also formulating your own. That's how I know it's not my voice. Because when I'm listening to someone or I'm talking and I can still hear another voice coming in, then I know that's where the spirit's voice. Because a lot of people say, how do I know it's not just my own voice? It's like when you're on the phone, you know someone else is talking to you.
That is a great description. I've had similar experiences, and at some point I know I need to, and I've told myself this and other people this is something I need to work on, meditate, hone, and understand more about the skill itself, or how to work with, how to flip on or off this thing. And I haven't explored that yet. So if you were to tell someone to go start somewhere, where would they start? Well,
and I'll say this for you, because you work with tarot cards. One of my amazing teachers, Kim Wade, I was so frustrated with the cards and learning, and she was so beautiful. She flipped over, and I'll never forget, it was the King of Coins or Pentacles, but I can't remember what deck. It might have been like Robin Wood Tarot or something like that, because it was very earthy and druid looking, and I don't know if those two are. But she said, just look at this card. And she says, what does it say to you? And I literally heard the man's voice from the card talking to me. And I told her, you know, what it was saying. And she says, thank you for that reading. That's just what I needed to hear right now in my life. And I remember going, oh shit, it's that easy. I'm not thinking, okay, because I was trying to do it the world's way, learn the
Yeah.
definitions, do this. And I trust me, when I teach, I say, do what way works best for you, but it's good. Just like knowing, if you're going to be a dancer, you want to know tap and jazz and ballet because they're your foundation, but then go, break every rule once you know the foundation. So I was trying to learn the foundation first, which she was like, just do what you need to do and then go back to the foundation. So that was something that was cool. So I'm sure when you lay a card down and you see like the Empress on a certain deck, you know exactly how crack her voice is. And it may be old like a crone, it may be young like a baby. You probably know exactly how she would speak. That, I would say, is somehow you connecting to the other side, to spirit, to the spirit of the deck. Or somebody. So that's something. I love imagery. So even when I work with animal communication, I don't do tarot. They send me a picture of the pet, and that's all I need. And when I open up that picture, I usually go, because they're such beautiful little animals and I love them. But then they just literally start going, blah, 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 blah. And when I work with the animals, I'm either working directly with the animal, or I'm working with what I call an interpreter, or I'm working with their higher self. Because oftentimes the bigger the dog, the more dog they are. And I'm then working with the higher self and interpreter. Cats, I love them because they're just like, they truly are alien beings. I really think so. I just saw Captain Marvel. I don't know if you saw it.
Not yet.
But there's a cat in the movie, and I kept going, that cat is not just a cat, it's something special, because I don't follow comic books. And finally, when it revealed what it was, I was like, I knew it! I knew it! Because it was the most powerful thing on the movie screen. But cats, I'm almost always working with them, and they're very highly evolved, highly intelligent. Very seldom are they low or dense vibration.
So have you ever worked with, my husband and I rescue ferrets. Have you ever worked with ferrets?
I saw that. I've not worked with one, but this is going to give away something. So when I was living by myself back in 1988, I got an albino ferret. And I named her, and tell me where I named her from. Her name was Blair.
The Facts of Life.
Yes! Because I loved Lisa Whelchel, Facts of Life, which is a funny story because now she's a conservative Christian woman. But I loved her. And it's funny because Facts of Life and then different world. Jasmine Guy. You remember Jasmine Guy?
Oh yeah, different world. Yes.
Yeah. So can you tell what characters I'm always attached to? The rich, wealthy, bitchy women.
Oh my God, I love it. And was she a little princess, Blair?
Yes, she was. As you probably know, I said ferrets literally are either 90 miles an hour or asleep, and there's no in between. And to my honesty, or being honest with myself, I probably only had her about 3 or 4 months. I didn't know what I was doing, and she needed to be with someone who took better care of her, and I gave her to someone else that knew how to take care of the animal. Because I always tell people I love animals, but if I lived alone, I would not have an animal in my house. My lifestyle does not work with that. I'm not usually home. I'm out there. When I leave work, if I was single, I would go to a coffee shop and read and then go home to go to bed. I mean, that's kind of, for being home by myself is not so much a thing, but with my husband, the house is a home now. And he absolutely loves and cares for the animals. And, we have a 17-year-old dachshund who's in amazing shape. We've been through 2 Pomeranians and a short American short-hair cat. Yeah. And then we have a Himalayan cat that's still with us, Sebastian. And then this gigantic Egyptian Mao-looking Maine Coon. He's 20 pounds. He's not overweight, but his name is Bartolomeo. He and I are connected. He and I are absolutely connected. And then there's outdoor cats, and now there's a possum that comes out back, and there's a raccoon that comes. And we're in a residential neighborhood, but they come around here. So yeah, the animals are here.
Do you feel like they're? I have to move on to another question, but I have to ask you about animals. Do you feel like the animals that are coming to you outside of the house, not the ones that you've invited in, but the ones who are coming? Are they coming for a reason? Are they attracted?
I think the energy here is very beautiful. I think on a base level, they know there's food. outside, so from that level. But we moved into the house when this beautiful kitten Jade showed up. So she showed up just as we also then 2 or 3 months later said goodbye to Toby. So it was a very interesting, passing of the baton.
Yeah.
And in my experience, animals, the top 3 reasons they come into your life: you're going through trauma, you're about to move, shift, or change, or you just moved, shift, and change. They either come in or exit. Many times when I'm dealing with animals that have passed on, I'll say, did you just move, or are you about to move? And they're like, we're about to move. I said, well, they're lightening your load. I said, I know that sounds kind of crass, but that's what they're telling me. Or when you move into a new house, they arrive in your life. They're like, they're there to settle the energy. You've probably set a lot of these wonderful intentions. We're moving to the new house. This is going to be different. We're going to have this. We're going to have this. And then also a lot of times when like a spouse or someone passed away, an animal will come in for healing as well. So they're high level beings that are here to help us grow, learn, mature, evolve.
I believe it 100%. I've had so many, as you're talking, so many experiences are rolling through my head.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk about those another time. There's just so much there.
That can be a whole other podcast.
Yes, right. Now, you had mentioned being at Reader Studio, and I think you were there back in 2017. Does that sound right?
So I've been this will be my this month will be my 5th year being there. So
I get to see you.
Huh?
I get to go.
You're going this year?
I get to go this year.
Shut up.
Yes, so I'm going to see you there.
Why have I not seen you? Do you know there's an online private chat for the Reader Studio?
On Facebook?
Yeah, on Facebook.
Yeah, so I got on Facebook a little while ago because it was driving me insane. So I know it's there, but I just haven't been engaging.
Yeah. Yay!
But yes, but in 2017, I think you were presenting.
Yes.
Right?
So in 15, I went just as a student, wide-eyed, didn't know what the heck I was getting in. When I came home, I had the flu because it was so overwhelming. I remember laying in bed just going, that was the most amazing experience, but I'm about to die. Then the next year, I got to lead a breakfast roundtable. Then the next year, I did a Friday night workshop. And then they called me on the day I got married to ask me, would you present in 2017? And I remember going, I'm a little busy, but yes. She's like, okay, you've got 18 months to think about it. And so you have to sit on that for like a year. It's bizarre. But then I presented and I presented tarot and hypnotherapy and did that. That was my presentation, working with the cards in a meditative altered state. And then last year I went back and I just did another Friday night workshop. This year I'm just doing the first timers event. So I love going there. It is like home. It is like you are getting like a PhD there. There's so much to learn. It is amazing. Is this your first time?
Yes. The only reason I'm getting to go is they opened up. Like some people canceled and some tickets opened. And Al Juarez happened to send me an email and said, hey, you might be interested in this. And I jumped on it. First I asked Steve, I was like, Steve, this is when this thing is. I have to do it now. It's going to go fast. This is what it's going to cost. Are you going to be here? Good with me being gone for this length of time? Yes. Boom. But then I was like, okay, now I have to figure out what to do about work. Can I actually make this happen? Yes. Okay, cool. Plane ticket, ...
Wow.
I have a new CEO, and the new CEO happened to ask me, there's a conference for work happening in Toronto, but it's happening, so Reader Studio ends, there's a day, and then I have to go to Toronto. But I'd already booked the flight back home for Reader Studio, so I'm in Chicago, so I'll fly to Readers, come back, be home for a day, and then fly out to Toronto.
Oh my gosh!
So when you said you were like so exhausted and you got the flu, I'm having to care for myself.
Just pace yourself. Pace yourself. Avoid sugar and dairy while you're there. They literally have packets of emergency everywhere for people. And the biggest thing is just pace yourself. And the reason because for me it was overwhelming. It was a shift in my being. That's what that flu was for me. It was a shift in my being. Because I remember laying in bed staring at the ceiling, just laughing and smiling, even though my entire body was in pain. But it was the most rewarding thing. And I tell you, Ruth Ann and Walt do an amazing job. The speakers this year you're going to be blown away. Oh my gosh! So that's exciting.
So you had also written a little article for them before everybody got to see you speak, and you had talked about embodying cards, kind of like a character.
Yeah.
And I love the concept of this exercise. I've shared it with other people too, just to help them better understand or get into a card. And I think Mary Greer has a similar type of sharing that she's done. I wanted to ask you, because I love the concept, could someone use this to help them come out of the tarot closet?
Absolutely, and this would also, in my mind, also be like even what's the word I'm looking for? Like shape shifting too, because there's an amazing book called The Art of Shape Shifting, and it talks about animals and stepping into them. So if you love animals, find the animals on your cards. Think of the strength card. Most people are going to look at the woman on the strength card if it's a woman and a lion. So if you need to go into a business meeting and you need to be strong, you can step into that lion energy. You might, if you're someone who has trouble speaking up and saying what's on your mind, you might find the Queen of Swords, depending on what the imagery looks like. Queen of Cups might be an imagery that you could step into, because oftentimes in most decks, she's kind of looking down at the cup she's holding, depending on which one, right or wait, typically looking down. Queen of Swords, typically looking forward, ready to take on, or King of Swords. So it's about stepping into the imagery of that. If it's a Saturday morning and you have a clean slate and you have no idea what to do, pick up the Fool card and stand just like the Fool. Maybe you even get an umbrella, and if you have an animal, stand near your animal and pretend like you're walking off the cliff, and then just see how that feels in your physical body. And then what do you want to do? Just what do you want to do from that moment? It's like doing yoga poses. You're in a pose. It's going to help shift, open up the chakras, clear things, ground things, connect things. So it's really, really beautiful to embody. And I think in that article I wrote, I talked about I feel different when I'm barefoot versus when I have on shoes versus when I have on, dress shoes, with a hard bottom. It's like I walk differently. If I put on a suit, I am a different person than if I'm in a tank top and shorts.
That's like RuPaul. We're all born naked and the rest is drag.
Yep. Right? The rest is embodiment.
I have to get a RuPaul reference somewhere, I think.
Yes.
Are you watching Drag Race?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Bad gay.
Yeah. I have a thing for Edie this season, and she is a drag queen who is unlike any I've ever experienced, and those are my favorite. Like they're kind of in their own creative space. Yeah. Everything just feels a little bit off, but it's so off, it's so right, and I'm fascinated by her. So here in Orlando, we have Parliament House, which a lot of people are probably familiar with that. But I'll never forget years ago, there was, I can't remember her name, but she always did crazy, quirky stuff. And one time she came out and the lights came up and you heard the start of Bohemian Rhapsody. And you thought, where's this going? And then when the lights came on to her, she was complete, full-on black, crazy hair, all the blades on her hand. She was Edward Scissorhands doing Bohemian Rhapsody. I lost my mind because it was so tragic and so poignant. And I mean, full on black, like plastic suit with giant blades off her fingers, just like Edward Scissorhand. And it was one of those where it's like, that's what I love about this. And regular drag queens and stuff, gown and everything like that. It's beautiful. It's fascinating. I love lip syncing, period. But and I probably should watch a drag show again because years ago I did. And the stuff that I don't like is the fake drama that the producers are probably creating to make you want to watch it again. Yeah. The transformation, the performances. That I could, if I could just fast forward through all that and get my husband to sit through it, I'd be fine. Whenever I'm watching it, because Steve doesn't sit through it either. Whenever I'm watching it, he always comes in at the end where RuPaul is saying, "And don't fuck it up." Yeah. So, I don't know how he gets in at the same time. Anyway, you had mentioned, there was a book that you had mentioned earlier. I think you said it's called You Are Psychic.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, as you think about how you've been influenced or how you reached out for resources, I've always expressed to people when they've asked me, what do I need to read? What do I need to find out? Where do I need to go in order to be the best tarot reader I can be? I've always encouraged people, read more than just tarot, expand your knowledge, get further than, because especially if you're looking at a Rider-Waite, for example, the imagery in there goes through different religious iconography, there's myth in there, there's history in there, all the things that make us well-rounded individuals that everyone says, why do I have to go through these classes my first 2 years in college? It's all that kind of experience. So if you had to share a non-tarot experience or a non-tarot resource, what would you put out there for people to influence them to grow as a tarot reader?
Well, the first one, and because I think it's so important, is mindfulness and meditation. I feel like if someone can read about just some simple things, John Kabat-Zinn is a great one because he's the kind of the father of mindfulness. He works from the University of Massachusetts, but he has a great book. Mindfulness in Plain English is another book. I can't remember the author's name because it's I think it's Indian.
I think I have that. That's an incredible book.
Yeah, because I think the mindfulness will help center you, will help ground you, will help you live in the present moment. And I feel when you are doing those things, you can be the best tarot reader you can be. Next, I would look into something like hypnosis, self-hypnosis, which for me is close to the mindfulness as well. And then just, anything on the psychic or medium realm that might help you develop those things. Because, in case people don't know, psychic is, in my opinion, and all the people I've read, psychic is here and now. Psychic work is between you and me, here and now, this earthly plane. Mediumship is on the other side of the veil. Mediumship is connecting to, disincarnate spirits, guides, angels, source energy. Some people would say it may not be, but I feel like anything that's not in physical body that you're connecting with, and that could be demons and and other denser energies, that's mediumship work. Pretty much all psychics are, all mediums are psychic. Not all psychics are mediums, even though on that same note, I believe we all are mediums and we all are psychic, just like everybody can sing. They just may not be able to sing well. And some people can learn to sing better. Even though they may not walk out singing like, Celine or Pavarotti, you can at least get to a level. Madonna and Britney both made wonderful careers out of quote unquote singing. Because they're performers.
Now you're out on a limb.
Yeah, because they're performers and and trust me, I love them dearly. But their singing abilities, is not. And Madonna said it. She said, "I've never thought I was a great singer." She said, "I had something to say, and music was how I wanted to say it." So yeah. I think those are some of the main things I would look into. Even things like EFT and tapping can be great tools for you. You could literally tap on a card in front of you, and like I said at Reader Studio, I took the entire crowd through. Basically, what I did was I said, "Hey, here's a little tiny spread I created. Everybody do this. Okay, we're done. Okay, now I'm going to take you into a quiet meditative state, and I want you to look at that spread again. And then at the end, I said, now we're going to do the transformation. I'm going to take, we chose cards of where we think we are. Like I'm at 5 of coins, or I'm at 3 of wands. I'm waiting for my lover. I'm 5 of coins. That all my finances are falling apart. Where do you want to be? I want to be 7 of coins. I want to be the lovers in his arms. Okay, good. So now flip those cards over. And I took them in and I said, in the psychic or in the meditative state or altered state, I said, flip over that first card. Okay, here's where you are. Now flip over the second card. Here's where you want to be. And then we actually chose like a bridge card in the middle, or a guide or a helper, like Temperance or the Empress or High Priestess. And I said, now flip it over. Now see yourself moving gently and slowly to where you want to be, allowing all that you had behind you, let it go, release whatever needs to. Now slowly flip over the card that you used to be. and thank that helper, that guide, that bridge for taking you to where you want to be. And it was so funny because I could hear people crying, and I was like, oh my God, what's going on? Melissa Shinova, who did the Kitchen Table Terror, she posted the next day. It was funny because she is one of those people that we looked at each other and we went, oh my God, I love you. And it was an instant love affair between she and I. We knew each other from many lives. And she wrote in a post the next day, she said, just had an amazing, session with Mitchell Osborn. Right in the middle of his thing, I had to stop listening to him. And I was like, where is she going with this? Because she had writer's block. And she said, in that moment, in that workshop, everything came flooding through. And she said, basically, she finished writing what she needed to write for her book at that moment. And I'm going to say this online because she said, and I'm going to dedicate the book to Mitch. And I still don't know if that ever happened. Melissa, if you're listening, I'm quoting you. But it was one of those moments where, from the moment Ruth Ann and Walt asked me to do that, I trusted that they saw something in me that needed to come out, because I really didn't know what I was doing. And I remember stepping on that stage with people like Mary Kay Greer in the audience, or Rachel Pollack. I think Mary might not have been there. Teresa Reed in the audience, Sasha Graham in the audience. And I'm looking at them going, what do I have to offer? I don't have a book. I don't have this. I don't have anything. And I said to them, I said, I don't know why I'm up here. I said, but I know Ruth Ann and Walt saw something in me. And I said, just to give me a little fuel this morning, I opened up my YouTube channel and I said, lifetime minutes watched. And I said, I feel better because at that point I think I have like 1.2 million minutes watched. So I remember thinking, okay, maybe I am somebody. But and I tell my stories, and I teach through story. So it was one of those moments where I got off the stage and I remember just saying, Spirit just led this from day one till now. And I just stepped up, and I was the mouthpiece for what I felt needed to come out.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Is there any other specific advice that you might give to an up-and-coming queer tarot reader who is wondering, how do I get through that imposter syndrome? Like you took a moment and went, wait, people are watching me. What else would you suggest to someone?
Yeah, first, just trust yourself. Every time you do a reading, work on presenting the reading and walking away. Present the reading and walk away without worrying about the expectations. If you walk away and probably more than 5 or 10 minutes, you're wondering, was that right? What are they thinking? Are they going to do this or do that? You're still holding on to it. If you lay down in bed at night and you're worried about a client that day, you are holding on to it, and that's just going to put you over the edge. And I think that's one of, quote, I don't use the word gift often because I use the word ability. But I think a gift I was given was the ability to be detached and let go. Because I remember talked about my therapist. I remember looking at her saying, sometimes I just feel like I'm a cold, callous son of a bitch because I don't miss people. If a close friend of mine moved out of town, I'd be like, oh my God, have fun on your new adventure, bye. I don't miss them. I remember thinking one time, if my entire family went down in a plane crash, it would be relief that I don't have to be responsible for them anymore. What a weird thing to think, but I realized it was a level of understanding of life and death and the cycles and the ability to connect to the spirit on the other side, which again, I would still say, am I a cold, callous son of a bitch for not caring? So being able to be detached from the readings, another thing that I highly recommend is having some form of a success journal. Reading 1. I did this reading for Bob, and I said this. Bob emailed me back and told me I was right. Reading 2. So that when you're up to reading 575 and you're writing down all your successes, it's hard to discount what you do because you've got 570 successes already. And that helps. The other thing, oh my gosh, I was going to say it. The other thing, what was the original question?
What advice might you have?
Advice. And this is the other thing that I feel I did not do well. And by the fact of all the stuff I said today, you probably go, oh yeah, no wonder. And you've done this very well, I think. If you feel led into a niche market, go for it. Because I feel like I am the tarot reader, the Lenormand Card Reader, the animal communicator, the hypnotherapist, the fitness. It's like I've not narrowed myself down, and part of it is because I love to learn, and once I learn it, I want to share it. But I'm laughing because it's like I've narrowed it down this year. It's like psychic medium, tarot card reader, animal communicator. Like I'm kind of narrowed down, but I still have all my hypnotherapy on my website. I've just not promoted it as much, and it's I've not had that many clients in that area. So if you find your niche and you become the best you can be in that, that's going to take you on a beautiful journey. Not that you can't with a wider range, but oftentimes I feel like I'm trying to prove myself in multiple areas. I don't feel I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. I feel like I'm a jack of a few trades. Pretty good master of most of them, but it's one of those things where that's where it's my struggle, and hopefully anyone listening or watching can find either a niche and go with that and work it.
Yeah, I love that, because I agree. I truly have found at least some degree of niche, and I end up, like you, honing that year after year after year. There's something more to it. They go, oh, I need to be here, 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 and it gets tighter every year. And for me, it keeps me sane.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we're getting close to the end, so I want to do our second lightning round.
We're close to the end.
Ready?
Well, I just looked at the clock and I literally thought we can't be close to the end, but it's been almost an hour.
Right?
I can't believe that.
So, are you ready? Lightning round.
I am.
All right. What's your favorite tarot card?
Like major, minor, the favorite tarot card?
Favorite tarot card.
Hermit.
Who's your significator right now?
High Priestess.
What tarot reader are you obsessed with right now?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that's a weird one. Okay, I'll be honest. Okay, Papa Squirrel right now.
Papa Squirrel. Right?
Yes.
What would you revolutionize in tarot?
Oh, I would I would make it like if I had a magic wand kind of a thing.
Yep.
I would make it this, because when I first went to Reader Studio, I remember walking out of there going, oh, not every reader is spiritual and kind and loving. I would make it, some of them are bitchy, mean, and nasty and ego driven. I would make it, and this is not everybody. It was, in other words, this is a loving place, but there were a few that I was like, oh my gosh, that was weird, because I would hear the comment, there's, again, it's a beautiful place, but there are a few out there, and more online than anything. I would revolutionize that. You have to be beautiful and kind and loving and high vibrational energy. No charlatans.
How would you do that?
I would require everyone to take a course in mindfulness and self-care and love and shadow work.
I love it.
But I also realized that, you know what, you've got to have light and dark, otherwise we're all just sitting here burning in the sun.
I agree. There's got to be balance, and if we don't find it, it truly, kind of like your experience of going through the shift at Reader Studio, your body needed to rebalance itself.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, big time.
All right. Well, Mitchell, this has been an experience that I am grateful for. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Oh my gosh.
Everything about you is infectious, and I can't wait to see you in
I can't believe I get to see you in a couple of weeks. That was worth coming online today. That I know I'm going to see you.
So amazing. Thank you for being a part of coming out of the tarot closet and jumping on the train. I really appreciate it. Share with me again where people can find you, how they can get in touch with you, anything else that's coming up that you want to share.
My website, mitchellosborn.com. Definitely check out the spread store, because if you just want to buy a spread, I deliver it back in a YouTube video. I'm on Facebook, Intuitive Mitchell, Mitchell Osborn, Instagram, Mitchell Osborn, Twitter, Intuitive, I think it's Mitchell Osborn, Intuitive Me 333. So all of those places.
All right, cool. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us on Coming Out of the Tarot Closet. Don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring guests in your ears. I do hope we've inspired you to speak out. If we have, please leave a kind review on iTunes. It'll help us get in front of others who can benefit from this message. Please remember, no one is alone, because you will be found.